Good morning, Krusty Crew. Today's video is why Supreme and Drake are basically the same thing. If you see my screen here, I got a little Venn diagram. One side has Drake, the other side has Supreme. We're going to go into the differences first, then we're going to hit the similarities. Let's get started. So, a glaring difference between Drake and Supreme already is that Supreme is American and Drake is Canadian. Now, let's hop into the similarities. So, the first and most important commonality that Drake and Supreme have in common is people hate on them just to be different. It's sad, but when people hate on Supreme or Drake, that's how you know if they have a deeper issue. There's so much Drake out there that there's a flavor for you, in the same sense that there's so much Supreme out there that there's probably something you like, and if you hate the entire entity, there's something deep down inside of you that's going wrong. Similarity number one. So the second thing Supreme and Drake have in common is they're both goated. They have been active forces in both their respective fields. Drake in music, Supreme in fashion for 10 plus years. You cannot do that without being a great. That's just math. Greatness is achieving success over a long time, and Supreme and Drake have done the same thing that sent them to this level of untouchableness, where even if they are corny, they can't really be that corny because they've done so much for the culture already. Do you understand? So, number three is they're both great at the entry level. I think that when you enter streetwear, it's very intimidating seeing all the options. The Supreme is a great default because it's not that intimidating. It's pretty easy to wear pieces, and if you didn't know anything about fashion, you could plug yourself in pretty simply in the same way that you could plug yourself into Drake if you're not the biggest hip hop fan. We all know those people that say, I don't really like hip hop, but of course they like Drake. Just like some people don't like streetwear, of course they like Supreme. It's great at an entry level. Reason number four why they're the same. Once you reach an expert level, you will get a new appreciation for both. Have you ever noticed that it's the mid tier hip hop people that like the lyrical, spiritual, miracle, individual bullshit that don't like Drake? Those are the Drake haters, but the ones that understand hip hop and have seen era after era, they understand that Drake is great. Just like the people that might not know too much about hip hop think Drake is great. People that hate on Supreme probably have a low level understanding of fashion as well. And I'm not saying all expert level people, when it comes to Supreme, would wear Supreme, but I do think that they would have an understanding that Supreme is important in streetwear. Number five, there's no end in sight. Ooh, sight. There is no end in sight for Supreme or Drake. People will say, this is dead. Drake is dead. This album is his last album. Honestly, Nevermind seemed to be the most controversial album that he had and was supposed to be the end of his career. But no, he dropped another album with 21 Savage that ended up being the hit of the year. Just like Supreme gets this constant hate. Supreme is dead. If you look at the comments section, people are always shitting on it. Dead brand, laugh emojis. I still don't see them being irrelevant. What they are is they're immersed in the culture so deep that they can't do wrong now. It's called being immortalized. It's called being idolized. To where once you reach a certain point in anything, it doesn't matter what you do. It's what you've done. And last but not least, I hate to say this. It really does pay me to say this about Supreme and Drake, but they're both culture vultures. I'm sorry. No, I'm not even going to say culture vultures. I'm going to back this up and say they're culture eagles. The reason why they're culture eagles and not vultures, vultures are scouring for dead meat. Vultures are looking for any type of liveliness that they can get just so they can eat some dead meat. Vultures are the type they'll eat whatever. They're looking hard, but they're not as picky. Where Supreme and Drake, they're culture eagles. They keep their wings nice and clean. They only want the nicest of the nice, and they swoop down one time and one time only and get the best possible thing and then bring it back up to their nest and eat on it. Like when you see someone like Drake link up with Ice Spice at her peak, that's an eagle type move. A cultured vulture a cultured vulture is scouring the internet for something cool that they can steal. A cultured eagle just patiently waits at the top of the mountain and then just swoops down and takes it and brings it back to the top seamlessly. And because people are so honored to work with them, they seem to drop their own value and submit to the higher power. Whether it be Supreme or Drake, when working with this entity, they're instantly shadowed, but they're almost okay with that. When you think about someone like Jack Harlow, when he worked with Drake, he was shadowed because he worked with Drake and he accepted that. Just like if somebody joins Supreme, I do think it kind of will give them a boost, but it'll also kind of take away from their individuality and the fact that Supreme is now making a commodity and making them one of the characters in their play instead of it being an authentic thing like it was in the beginning. All in all, I think that the culture vulture effect leads to people selling out. And I think that when you work with Supreme or Drake, that there's a part of your entity that will take a percent click because you'll be affiliated with that group now. And Supreme will do a great job of squeezing the very life force out of you the same way that Drake will squeeze the very life force out of you to get what they want. And they toss you to the side, and it's not personal, but it's only so they can be the best brand possible. Especially with Drake being money minded and Supreme now being owned by a private investment group. I could see that the end game for both of them is just to make money. And at the end of the day, that requires you being a little bit less sensitive when it comes to taking from others and being super strategic when it comes to taking from others. Please let me know what you guys think of the video. Comment down below, even if you think I'm a fucking idiot. Please, seriously, your feedback means everything to me. This stuff isn't nearly as fun with just me rambling, so the comments are my life. Thank you and have a great day.